Hi everyone listening over here. It's happens to be the 30th of November, which is a day that's special to many of us over here, many British people, especially because a lot of us, probably at least probably 60 or 70% of Jews it affects in the UK for sure. In Britain, it's a day to mark the departure and expulsion of Jews from the Arab countries and Iran. I think the Kenesset formulated this date back in the year 2014, if I am not mistaken. Actually, in June the 23rd of 2014, it was enacted. And why does it affect 70% of British Jewry? Because many of us, as I've said before, even possibly more, have maybe a grandparent that was one of the people that was expelled. Maybe has a daughter or son-in-law that has had the family that was expelled. A brother-in-law, sister-in-law. You know, we've all got... we are so diverse, with since the last 100 years, so many mixed marriages. I know so many people where a Moroccan family would have married an Egyptian, or someone from Poland would have married someone from Morocco, or Persians married British. We're so diverse. So along the line, it affects all the people in modern generation. We've got a direct chain, the vast majority of British Jewry, to someone that has suffered from this. So. Directly. So let's just look at it again. I did a similar video, but now that we are actually on the day itself of the memorial, we should be irresponsible to ignore it, because obviously it's not going to get much coverage at the moment because of the situation, and rightfully so. The situation, we want our hostages back, and we want, we don't want any more terrorism in Israel. So this might seem like a side issue, but it's very much a huge issue. This is because it's not getting any media attention. It never got. So there needs to be justice also. And especially the British government have not done anything. The British media have not reported any of this. I'll just remind everybody what the population was back in the year 1948 in Morocco was 265,000, now only being, as of 2018, which is probably now less, only 2,150. Also in Libya, 38,000 there was, and now barely none. 135,000 people in Iraq. It was a huge community over there, and there were problems in all these countries for many years. Don't let whitewash everything, saying that it was all a bed of roses over there. There was pogroms, and there was kidnappings. There was a lot of problems over there. Now in Iraq, there's reportedly less than 1 million, less than 10. In Algeria, 140,000 people, and now less than 50 as of 2018, 5 years ago. So probably even it's dwindled more. Egypt had a huge Jewish community of 75,000 people before 1948, and now barely 100. Over there in Yemen, where probably the Jews suffered the most over the hundreds and thousands of years, there were 63,000 people, and only now barely 50 at the moment. A lot of people actually moved to the UK, especially the Adani community. Also, there is a thriving one in Hendon and Stamford Hill and in Edgware. Also in Tunisia, another massive Jewish community, 105,000, and now only 1,050 as of 2018. Syria, 30,000, only 100 now, and a lot of the people moved and made great lives for themselves, especially in New York, and there's a lot of people in Israel also, and Lebanon, 5,000 there was, and 100, and not to mention Iran also, where I am from, on both sides. I think we trace ourselves back for 2,000 years. There was a huge Jewish community there. Actually, at the time of the Shah, it wasn't actually too bad for the Jews, as my dad has said over many times. But now it's downsized hugely. And remember, we left a lot of property, a lot of lands in these countries, and it went. According to one opinion, it was, let's assume that it was 856,000 people there. The Palestinians claim 711,000 let's just say had to leave Israel, where they attacked us at the same time. There was an attack on Israel at the time, so it's a totally different scenario also. On top of it, the land value and the properties that we left behind was much more, this 856,000 to 711,000. So I'll leave it for get your calculators out, how much, if there was meant to be a land exchange, let's just assuming if that was the case. Well, I'm not saying it would be, because this is getting no coverage whatsoever, and no one seems, unfortunately, to care about it. Well, I wonder what compensation the Jewish community will get, the people that were expelled, I'd assume it will be much, much larger also. But why should we not forget about it? First of all, it's a huge thing. It affects, many people died, were murdered during this time period. So it's not justice for them. Also, for these Arab countries, they need to own up to their mistakes, or not mistakes, to what they've done also. Because if they whitewash it and they don't have any remorse for it, that's not good for them also. From, let's say, a tikkun olam purpose also, because we want them to also recognize what they've done, and then maybe if they have some remorse, they'll also be more careful. And it's our ancestors also, they went through this, so we must not forget about it. And especially in this Israeli-Palestinian conflict, this is a huge thing that needs to be brought up, especially by the British government. We should complain, we should write, we should to all the MPs about this, and insist that there's a recognition on this day in the British calendar, and there's memorials done, maybe museums, maybe there's TV documentaries from, let's hope, maybe all these places that are biased against Israel. Maybe it's time they do documentaries on this also. And, we should not forget about it, and we must educate the next generation. Maybe even I'd go as far to say maybe more, I don't know what the syllabus like in the Jewish schools in England, but maybe there should be a curriculum also dedicated towards what happened in these Arab lands, also to educate the next generation of our Jewish children, Jewish schools, non-Jewish schools alike. It should be in a broad curriculum of the British government also, because what we suffered was huge. And we didn't get real compensation, and we need to perpetuate this memory. And unfortunately, as a Jewish community, we suffered everywhere over the last 100 years. And obviously, what happened in Europe was much, much more severe. That we all acknowledge that, and that also obviously needs a lot more education also in the school. Likewise. And may all the suffering all of us had, whatever country we were in, whether in Europe or in the Arabic lands, whether we were in other areas also, it's got to be remembered and has got to be commemorated and remembered and compensated also, and educated to the whole world, the whole globe, everyone, not just us. So I'd like to obviously there was some bad news this morning with this terrorist attack that took place in Jerusalem. So may Hashem give a speedy recovery for the people. But unfortunately, as of now, 3 people were murdered, and it's absolutely devastating when we hear any of these things. We don't want any civilian. We don't want any civilian to die whatsoever. Over here, this is Hashem Yikam Damo, and let's just hope there'll be peace and brachot. Hamas will be obliterated from the world, and all the hostages will come back in one piece. So wishing you a Shabbat Shalom in advance, and